So why have the idea of cultural expressions, culture, and notions of worldliness so often been intertwined?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's really where part of the rest, perhaps the central place of the wrestling match. And my thinking is in two ways. One is that culture reflects values. Okay, so people, the patterns of life come around values that are placed in a culture. I mean, culture is not neutral. It's we're dealing with a fabric of values and principles, and so when we see those things, we see the expression. There are values that are underneath it, and in a sin-cursed world, often the values that are underneath it are reflective of problematic issues. But so that's where we have to work our way through it. How do we see the gap between the expression and the values that are under it, and is it inherently contaminated by that? Okay, so we have no uniform way of doing that. I mean, we always wrestle, and that's why you get all these different answers about, the believers and culture and how we go. I would think, and part of this comes to my sort of view of depravity and apologetics and all of that there's much more significance to it than we sometimes attribute. So we do need to deal with the issue of worldview, to put it in those terms. So the choices that are being made are expression of how people view the world, and as they view the world, it's reflecting their either bias against God or borrowing from God in it. So I think that's part of the reason why it gets wrapped up. So let's take the music debate, and not to get way into it, but in the 60s, it wasn't just believers who were rejecting what was happening in the popular music world. In fact, 50s and 60s, you can find the American culture expressing rejection of it, because there clearly were a set of values associated with rock and roll that were contrary to the values of our culture. And that's where the conflict came in. So to say it was just sort of amoral, music is neutral, is to not really wrestle with culture very well. And most of the proponents for it back then and the antagonists against it all recognized that there were in fact values and morals. So that's my point. And I think, like I said earlier about the hairstyle thing. I mean, if you're embracing a movement, that movement has values that undergird it. The other part of that is what I would call group identity. That is when people who share common values begin to have an identity, then we wrestle with the fact of, well, can we use something from that identity? How much does it carry over? I mean, the way I illustrate it is the most obvious one would be like, say, the Playboy bunny. If I showed up at an event as a pastor with a shirt on that has the Playboy bunny on it, most people would look and go, why would you embrace the values of the Playboy culture? And I'd say, how am I doing that? I'm just wearing a polo shirt. But they would say, you just identified, by wearing it, you identified with that. And that's true across the board. And that's the part of the thing that we would just want to dismiss that, like, oh no, I'm not, I'm just doing my thing. There's, you're going to tell me there's something wrong with this individual item, as if that individual item just stands completely isolated from its cultural connections. So that's part of where we wrestle with. Now, the tension in all of it is those are sort of associative, and that's where people come at it a little bit differently. And that's a part of why I address this in the workshops, is because if I could put it this way, as the culture breaks down and fragments, the clarity with which some of these things speak gets muted a little bit. So,
like these group identities you're saying are dissolving.
Well, and also, I mean, you know, like for instance, let's just do this: wedding bands. The Puritans were against them.
Mm-hmm.
Puritans were against the celebration of Christmas. In most of our, I mean, in our circles, very conservative circles, they would not look at a wedding band and think it's worldly or a compromise. It no longer has that association. Most of our churches wouldn't think that recognizing Christmas and having some kind of Christmas celebration is somehow worldly, because it's no longer got the associations it had. And so sometimes things that had a clear association that reflected a value and even a group identity, over time they disappear. I mean, they don't have that. I mean, one of the things I illustrate is, I mean, you know, weddings, the custom of the groomsmen all dressing alike came from an old superstition that if they went to the church, if somebody wanted to put a curse on the bride and groom, the spirits wouldn't know which one was the groom. Now, I mean, I never even heard that. So, you know, so when we picked out our wedding stuff ages ago, it wasn't like, let's make sure we all look alike. You know, so what happens is there's some of these traditions that actually had very bad roots that really sort of become neutralized. And occasionally you get people who dig back to something from 400 years ago and now tell us we can't do it. But the fact is that most don't feel the weight of that. And I think that's where some of the edge of confrontation is right now, is how much do things that were associated with unbiblical values 50 years ago still carry those associations.
Sure.
And so my sort of simple axiom, and I'll just state it quickly on it, is, you know, if we're going to argue on a basis of association, then that association should be clear and direct. That is, it's not like we have to make, you know, 14 points to show somebody the association. I mean, it's here's the thing, here's this, we can see the connection. And it should be recognized by most people. I mean, if we're the only one, or there's only a very small group of people that see the connection, then it's quite possible that there's really not much of an association there. Because if it was something that is apparent to many people, then that makes sense. But if it's only a few people with some kind of specialist information that can make that connection, then I don't think that's a real association. So I think we've got to wrestle with that so that we can think through, as we try to live in the culture, but not be worldly. How do we separate the things that represent unbiblical values from ones that we can live out the faith of Christ followers in?